Good, thanks. Thank you, Ms Rice, for joining us. Would you like to make a opening statement?
Thank you, Chair. I would, if that's okay. Chair, the committee may recall that when ASQA appeared at supplementary budget estimates in November, I advised the committee about action that ASQA had taken to cancel the registration of a registered training organisation, Luvium Pty Ltd, which was trading as Australia Education and Career College. That was following an extensive compliance investigation and the subsequent action to consider the legitimacy of more than 8,700 qualifications and or statements of attainment that issued by Luvium to more than 7,300 individuals. I'd like to take this opportunity to briefly update the committee about the outcomes of our consideration of those qualifications and ASQA's continuing work to protect the public and the integrity and reputation of Australia's vocational education and training sector and the qualifications issued by training providers. ASQA has an ongoing program of regulatory action against non-genuine and bad faith actors. In addition to the matter of Luvium that I advised the committee of in November, we undertook intensive compliance investigations into three other critically non-compliant RTOs during 2024 and the integrity of the qualifications they issued. The outcome of those investigations resulted in the cancellation of the registration of each of those providers based on findings that they had systematically issued qualifications and or statements of attainment without proper training or competency-based assessment by qualified assessors, and or they did not ensure that the individuals they enrolled had successfully satisfied all requirements prior to issuing the VET certification. These providers were typically purporting to deliver on the basis of a model of recognition of prior learning that was grossly inadequate. In total, across all four providers, more than 21,000 qualifications and statements of attainment were issued to more than 18,750 individuals. Qualifications were issued across individual support, early childhood education and care, community services, disability and first aid, and construction-related industries. Given the significant issues we identified throughout our investigations with each of these providers and the nature of the nature of the industries these qualifications were issued in, urgent action was required by ASQA to consider the legitimacy of the qualifications and or statements of attainment issued because of the potential safety risks to the individuals holding those qualifications, others in the workplace and some of the most vulnerable members of the community. ASQA communicated directly with all individuals concerned and they were given the opportunity to demonstrate to ASQA that the relevant provider had delivered the training and or assessment necessary for them to achieve or confirm the learning outcomes or competencies required prior to being issued with certification. We stood up a dedicated team for the sole purpose of carefully considering and assessing individual responses to our communication, which was indicating that we were considering cancelling those individuals' qualifications. We received responses from around 20% of the total number of affected individuals, and we assessed each individual set of facts and circumstances based on the evidence provided. None of the individuals who responded to ASQA's notice of intent to cancel their qualifications were able to demonstrate that the relevant provider delivered the necessary training or assessment to them prior to being issued certification. This resulted in our cancellation of more than 21,000 qualifications and or statements of attainment between November 2024 and January 2025. We continue to work with government agencies, state and territory governments and other regulators to determine the impact of qualification cancellations on affected individuals and any workplaces affected. The enforcement and compliance activity of our integrity unit is sending a clear message to the community that risks to the quality and integrity of VET will be taken seriously and acted upon. Our actions and activity are supported by a significant uplift in our intelligence, analytic and investigative capacity, together with close collaboration and coordination across government by working with partner agencies and law enforcement to crack down on non-genuine providers and alleged illegal conduct to maximise disruption. Reducing threats to the integrity of VET, including through our membership of the Fraud Fusion Task Force and activities focused on fraudulent conduct relating to government payment programs and the issuance of fraudulent qualifications, is a multi-year program. Following the actions we took late last year in relation to these four providers and the qualifications they fraudulently issued, we have continued to receive further information and intelligence through our tip-off line. More than 3,400 tip-offs have been received since our tip-off line was set up in October 2023, with more than half providing actionable intelligence. As a result of some of our active investigations, I expect there will be further instances that will require us to consider the legitimacy of individual qualifications issued by non-genuine providers over the coming months. Confidence in the integrity of our vocational education and training sector and the qualifications issued by training providers is paramount. This is why we will continue to work across government and as part of multi-jurisdictional actions to prevent, detect, deter and disrupt fraudulent behaviour in the vet sector, which undermines and threatens the vast majority of providers who are committed and capable of delivering quality vet outcomes for students, industry and the community. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Before I hand over to the Deputy Chair, I just want to congratulate ASQA for the work that's been done. This is incredibly important. And I couldn't sum it up better than you've said it in your opening statement, Ms Rice, how critically important this is to the economy, the integrity of the system, but also the quality of the services that are provided. And we think everything from aged care to the many other services and qualifications that were falsely admitted. And I note that in the last number of months that we've been debating fee-free TAFE and the predominance of the TAFE system. It's not anti-private operators, but it does ring a bell in everyone's mind, I think, about how some of these private operators operate. Certainly these 4 that have been identified, and 21,000 people that have been, in all appearances, and as you've delicately put, but clearly put, and that have been ripped off. Again, thank you very much for the work you've done. And just one question: do you think this could have happened without this crackdown on non-genuine providers, without the establishment of the ASQA Integrity Unit?
It certainly enhanced our capacity, Senator. We built on existing capability and capacity that we had within the agency, but it was designed specifically to uplift that capability and therefore our reach. It focused particularly on the establishment of the tip-off line, which, as I outlined in my opening statement, has resulted in a significant number of tip-offs, but most importantly, actionable intelligence that has certainly supported this, our pursuit of this work in particular. And it will certainly continue to increase our data, digital and technological capabilities over time as we continue to implement the measure.
Thank you, Ms Rice. Senator O'Sullivan. Sorry, before we start, the National Centre for Vocational Education Research can be excused as well. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you. And I won't say I echo everything that Senator Sheldon's just said, but I will add my own thanks to you for the work that ASQA does and the determination that you have to make sure that there is integrity in the system. It is absolutely vital, and at that point I'd certainly agree with the Chair in making sure that our training system, which is absolutely vital to our economy and to individuals and their aspirations, is really important. I want to ask some questions about a particular provider, the Barkley International College, RTO number 22238. Have you got that information there?
I have some limited information, Senator. It is a matter that we're in dispute in the Administrative Review Tribunal. So I'm just limited, perhaps, in what I can.
My questions are actually more going to just sort of registration dates and that sort of thing. So I think you'll be able to answer them, but of course, if you need to take something on notice or deal with it in a different way, that's fine. Can I ask, is it correct to say that ASQA made a decision to cancel the registration of Barkley International College on the 20th of May 2024?
That's correct. That was our initial decision, Senator.
When did ASQA communicate to the department that it cancelled the registration of Barkley?
We have a regular system of notifications to key government departments at the time that we make a decision. So I will check the detail with colleagues, but I believe that we would have issued to the department and a number of other departments the notification of our decision at the time that we made it.
At the time, okay. And when did ASQA become aware of the appeal of its original decision? The original decision on the 20th of May 2024?
I'll ask my colleague to answer the detail of those questions, Senator.
Sorry, Fiona O'Brien, Acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer, ASQA. So that particular provider did apply for an internal review of the decisions that ASQA made. At internal review, those decisions that ASQA had made were affirmed. They were affirmed on the 13th of November 2024. On the 5th of December, the Administrative Review Tribunal notified ASQA that the applicant had filed an application for a further merit review.
Thank you for that. My question was, when did ASQA become aware? Was it at that time?
Yeah.
On each case?
I think it's 30. We provide, I'm pretty sure it's a period of 30 days that when a decision is made by a delegate, there's a period of the provider isn't able to make that internal review application, and it would have happened within that 30-day period from the initial advice of the decision.
When did ASQA communicate to the department that it had granted a stay request on its original decision?
I'd have to take that particular date on notice, Senator.
When did ASQA become aware of the decision by the ART to affirm the original decision of ASQA?
The affirmation of the original decision was ASQA's decision, so it was an internal review undertaken by ASQA of our original decision. So it was our decision then to affirm that was affirmed,
Okay.
as Ms O'Brien said, in November 2024.
13th of November
Yeah, okay.
2024.
When did ASQA communicate to the department that its original decision had been affirmed?
It would have been, again, at the time of the decision being made.
Thank you. When did ASQA become aware of the interim stay granted by the ART with conditions?
I'll just see if I have that date with me, Senator, if you can give me a moment. I will need to take that particular date on notice, Senator.
Sorry, just Ms Rice, just to not to cut across and already not to perfectly okay to answer the questions. It's a matter of decision for you, but I'm just sort of mindful that if these matters, and as the Deputy Chair said, cut across any legal matters that are happening at the moment in front of the tribunal, that you are able to either take it on notice or claim public interest immunity. So just reminding you.
Thank you.
So helpful, Chair. Thank you. When did ASQA become aware of I asked this already, the interim stay granted by ART with conditions?
Senator, that's
the one you took on notice.
Take on notice.
Sorry.
That's right.
Yeah. What is ASQA's understanding of those interim stay conditions?
Again, I think, Senator, we'll need to... I don't have that detail available. The interim stay is a process that's managed by the Administrative Review Tribunal, and it was pending a substantive stay hearing, which was held last week.
Okay. What specifically was Barkley doing to be deemed non-compliant?
Can I give you a little bit of detail, Senator, about the nature of the non-compliances?
So, Senator, the non-compliances that were identified were in relation to training and assessment standards for RTOs, enrolment and marketing and governance systems.
And is Barkley International College accepting enrolments for new students now?
Senator, I've just been advised that understanding of the interim stay conditions is that the provider is not allowed to enrol any new students. So
Okay, so they're not currently enrolling. So then, why does the Barkley website then still promote its courses? Are they allowed to do that?
They've
still got an application form and enrolment form online. Is that permissible?
They won't be able to accept new enrolments, but the decision is pending the outcome of the administrative review, merits review process.
Has ASQA sought legal advice as to whether the owner and operator of Barkley, Rupinder Brar, is a fit and proper person to operate an RTO in light of this apparent breach of the interim stay conditions?
Senator,
advertising this.
That wouldn't be a matter that I would be keen to talk about in the context of the matter that's before the ART.
I'm just asking if you've sought legal advice.
I don't think, no, I would say no.
Okay. I'm told the online form is active, so it's active. People can actually go on there now and apply. There's no notice on there at all that that's not allowed. Has ASQA's original decision been undermined by Mr. Brar's promotion of his purported access to the Prime Minister?
Senator, ASQA is an independent statutory authority, and we undertake our decisions independently and pursue those decisions as appropriate. So it's not a matter relevant to the decision-making process or the matter that we are pursuing through the Administrative Review Tribunal.
I just want to table some social media posts from Mr. Brar. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. So we can see here on the 12th of November.
Widely canvassed in the Australian newspaper some time ago.
Oh, then you're familiar with it. That's good. Mr. Brar attends a Labor fundraiser dinner in Toorak, as you can see from this, and Mr. Brar's promoting the fact that he's with the Prime Minister and he's got access to the Prime Minister. Has that had any influence at all over the fact that the very next day the ART upholds ASQA's cancellation of Barkley's registration, and then there's another on the very next day, so the event was on the 12th of November, and then on the 13th he's got an appeal for the ART, a further appeal, keeping the college's fate in limbo.
Sorry, are you suggesting that the ART has been influenced by these social media posts, or that ASQA has been, or?
Well, he was enthusiastic enough to put in that appeal the very next day. Not suggesting anything about the ART. He's entitled to put in an appeal, but he's clearly enthusiastic about his meeting with the Prime Minister and then puts in an appeal the very next day.
And?
Was it just a coincidence?
Well, you'd have to ask him. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago that there were photos of Peter Dutton at a Liberal Party fundraiser next to a casino high roller linked to the Chinese Communist Party, and your lot complained and said that was really unfair, and now here you are trying to do the same thing.
Does ASQA believe that Barkley was in fact operating as a visa operation rather than an RTO?
Senator, I prefer not to comment in relation to the specifics of that. We certainly stand by the decisions that we made, and that is what is currently under review by the tribunal. So I'm not sure that I can add anything further to
Minister,
the decisions we've made.
Mr Bras paid, according to those claims in the Australian, up to $10,000 to be seated there right next to the Prime Minister. Does that give him any special access?
Did the Chinese Communist Party linked casino high roller get some special treatment from being
You're not answering my
photographed
question,
by Peter Dutton?
Minister. You're not answering my question.
Well,
Maybe a golden ticket.
yeah, maybe. Well, Senator O'Sullivan, everything I've heard tonight suggests that ASQA are doing everything they can to uphold the law against this gentleman. So if he thought that he was getting
special... My question is not of ASQA, it's of the Prime Minister.
So if he thought he was getting special favours by going to a fundraiser, if that's what he did, and I'm not sure that's even been conceded, then I don't think he got what he was after.
Yet he's still able to promote his courses, have people enrol,
ASQA's
or
taking
have
action
people
against him.
apply.
Are you having a crack at the ASQA people for not doing their job properly? ASQA's taking action against him. So as I say, if he thought he was buying some sort of special favours, I think he's probably sadly disappointed.
Well, maybe you could instruct him to take down his website, his application page.
You'd like me to do that?
Well,
Have you got his phone number?
no, I don't have his...
That's just...
The Prime Minister is sitting pretty close to him. There you go, he's got a picture of his phone there. Maybe they'll chop
This is all a bit silly. This is all a bit silly.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, as I say, Peter Dutton got upset a couple of weeks ago when people put photos of him with a Chinese Communist Party linked dude.
Okay.
You know,
I want to go on...
Yeah, I'd move on if I were you too.
I want to go about the 150... the so-called 150 ghost colleges that have been axed. So this is a media release. I'll provide a copy to you now. From Minister Giles. On the 21st of August 2024, the Minister released
Thank you.
this media release, and for the record, Ms Rice, am I right in saying you commenced as Commissioner of ASQA in April 2018?
That is correct.
Before being appointed as Chief Commissioner and CEO, initially acting on October 2019?
Correct.
Can I also just confirm that what your role in ASQA is?
Following legislative governance changes to ASQA's legislation, my role is the Chief Executive Officer and Accountable Authority.
And ASQA's role is provides enforcement and monitoring, is that correct?
I would characterise our role as being quite considerably more broad than enforcement and monitoring.
You have an educative role as well, I appreciate that.
Sorry?
You have an educative role with providers as well, though.
We have, indeed.
But you do provide enforcement and monitoring?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And it's broader than that, that's fine. In this media release by Minister Giles, there are a number of claims that have been made about the Australian skills sector and the response from government. Can I just confirm, given that you've been in this role for quite some time, has Australia's VEX sector had rampant integrity issues since you've been in the role?
Certainly the integrity issues have changed in nature over the time in my time in this role and varied in their nature. At the moment, we certainly have some considerable issues that we're working through. At the moment, I think we have 191 serious matters under consideration in our enforcement investigations unit, and that relates to 154 providers. The nature of the issues under consideration there include a variety of concerns, particularly relating to international students, alleged fraud, some of the activity that I spoke about in my opening statement.
How many?
Ghost colleges and visa and migration fraud.
How many registered training organisations are there?
There are ASQA regulates.
Yeah.
3,837 providers. That's as at the end of December 2024. There's just over 4,000 providers nationally. The remainder are regulated by the
states.
Victoria and
WA.
WA.
Yeah. What percentage of providers then would you estimate in your investigations of not been meeting the standards or acting appropriately?
Senator, that's a difficult question to answer at any given point in time. We undertake a variety of different actions and activities right across the sector. As you said or noted originally in the introduction to your questions, starting with the educative role that we play. We undertake performance assessments of providers as well as the investigations that we have on foot. So that is all part of our role in terms of the consideration equally of applications made to change the scope of the provider's registration. So across all of that variety of activity, there is quite a breadth of issues identified between ranging from the non-genuine bad faith actors right through to providers who are both found to be compliant but potentially also degrees of non-compliance, but not necessarily where they're all non-genuine. It would also include providers that are perhaps trying but not always succeeding, and we work with them to return to compliance.
So the poor behaviour occurs within the system, but would you describe it as being on the margins or is it systemic?
No, as I said in my opening statement, the vast majority of the sector are capable and committed of delivering quality vocational education and training.
So let's go to the media release then. In a draft version that we have under Freedom of Information, which I can also table, this was titled over 100 dormant vet providers no longer in sector. Can you tell me why the title was changed?
No, Senator, I can't answer that. I was not involved in the title.
Sorry?
ASQA wasn't involved in the title.
ASQA wasn't involved.
The words.
In those same documents, we have the drafting of this media release, and we've a comment on a fact check release from an unnamed public servant that reads, quote, that they may not all be ghost colleges. Can you please confirm if all 150 providers who had their registration cancelled were in fact ghost colleges?
The as referenced, I think, in the media release, the 150 there were all providers that were not delivering any training. So it is...
but they're all ghost college. I mean, there's some providers that maybe just ceased trading.
Senator,
that make them a ghost. What's your definition of a ghost?
And I think that's the question. I recall in the committee's consideration of this matter previously, it does depend on the definition or what definition. I know from our perspective it's been used in the context of providers who don't require their students to attend classes. It also has been referred to in the context of providers who don't deliver any training.
Is it an official term that you have?
No, I don't believe it is an official term.
So it's not an ASQA term?
No.
Right. Would you use, is dormant college more of a term you'd use? Or how do you describe internally a college that's not currently providing active courses?
I think we've said that we've referred to it interchangeably. It's interchangeably referred to in relation to a range of non-genuine behaviour, including fraudulent practices, inappropriate models of RPL that present a veil of legitimacy, providers not delivering any training or assessment or not requiring students to attend classes, and having poor academic integrity.
Right, but so the 150 ghost colleges, were they all under that category, or were there some that were just dormant because they stopped their training or stopped?
This particular media release relates to the legislative change that occurred around about April last year, which was to remove the registration from providers who are not delivering. So none of the providers were delivering training.
Yeah. So is the heading 150 Ghost Colleges axed misleading?
I think that would be asking my opinion on
I won't bother
the
asking the minister.
the minister's media release, and I'm not sure that would be.
On the second paragraph, the final media release reads, the Albanese Labor government is cracking down on dormant vocational education and training vet providers. Announced this week that over 150 colleges have been shut down. The same fact check section on LEX 1178, page 19 of 128, says that the Albanese Labor government is cracking down on dormant vocational education training vet providers, announcing this week that 150 providers have had their registration lapse after not delivering training. This targets the integrity risk posed by dormant registered training organisation RTOs, includes ghost colleges, and it's been scrubbed out, have been shut down. And then it continues that seek to use registration as a veil offers being scrubbed out and legitimacy for fraudulent activity. Who is correct here? Is it the department or the minister? And which version is actually correct?
I'm not sure that I have the version that you're referring to.
Should be in that.
Senator?
It should be in the FOI that we've. Oh, sorry.
It
You're right.
was mistakenly not handed out. So
Sorry.
We're just handing it out now.
Also, Senator O'Sullivan, obviously happy for the officials to say whatever they want, but it may be that, thank you, departmental officials as opposed to ASQA officials were involved in the drafting of this release. I'm not necessarily sure that we would have the people at the table or even available to be able to fully answer your questions, but I'm happy for people to do what they can.
Thank you, Minister. The next paragraph in the final reads that the Braithwaite Review 2018 first uncovered serious integrity issues in Australia's vet sector, which were rampant under the former Liberal and National government. And then the fact check version states that it was amended, that the integrity risks posed by dormant providers was first identified by the Braithwaite Review in 2018. So again, has quite a different meaning to it. Who's correct here, the department or the minister?
Senator, I think we'd have to take that question on notice. In the versions I still have, I'm not. I don't have the version in terms of what has been amended and what hasn't. So I think I can probably provide you with a more
just give me one moment.
considered response on notice.
There's the two versions there, you'd have to compare them, which I appreciate on the spot might be difficult to do. So if you can take that on notice, then that would be helpful. If you can come back to me, which version is actually accurate and correct and consistent with the meaning of what actually happened. There was also a comment no, I'll deal with that later. So there's been some significant sort of changes. Minister, it appears to be some willful misleading of Australians about the state of the VEC sector. Is this acceptable?
Well, I don't agree with your assessment.
Why does the minister the Minister Giles, that is, has an issue with the truth?
I mean,
this is deeply concerning that the meaning is quite different when you read these two different versions.
I don't agree with your assessment.
So I ask these questions because the media release and the advice that was ignored in its development indicates to me that the minister's been misleading in his characterisation of the vet sector.
Well, that's your interpretation, but I don't share it.
Chair, I'll wrap it up.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody. That concludes today's hearing. Thanks to all witnesses who appeared and to Hansard and Broadcast.